Your silence after the disrespect is killing them. Have you ever noticed how silence can be the most powerful response to disrespect? In a world that expects us to react, defend, or fight back, your silence holds a power that many can't handle. It speaks louder than words, leaving the ones who tried to tear you down to sit with their own action. Today, we're diving into why your silence after disrespect is not just a defense mechanism, something that slowly eats away at those who sought to bring you down. Let's uncover the silent power you hold and why it drives them crazy. Why people expect a reaction. The desire for conflict. Disrespect often comes from a need to provoke and control. Disrespect is rarely an isolated incident. It is often a deliberate act designed to provoke a reaction from the target. When someone disrespects you, it is usually because they want to see you react. They want to gain control of the situation and, by extension, over you. In many cases, disrespect is born out of insecurity or the desire to assert dominance. By belittling or provoking someone else, a disrespectful person seeks to elevate themselves, even if only temporarily. They thrive on conflict because it gives them a sense of power, creating a dynamic where they feel superior or in control. The act of disrespect is often a way to test boundaries. People who disrespect others are often searching for a response that reaffirms their sense of control or superiority. They may belittle, insult, or undermine you, hoping you'll react in a way that validates their behavior. The more emotional or defensive your reaction, the more they feel they've succeeded in getting under your skin. It's a game of manipulation, where they are looking to trigger a response that proves their ability to influence your emotion. Moreover, disrespect often has deep psychological roots. Those who disrespect others may have experienced hurt or insecurity themselves, and they project that negativity onto others. By pushing your buttons, they momentarily escape their own insecurities by shifting the focus onto you. This desire for conflict becomes a coping mechanism, a way for them to deflect their own emotional turmoil by creating it in someone else. In their minds, conflict solidifies their sense of importance. They expect you to react because, for them, a reaction validates their existence. That moment, when you react, you become part of their narrative, and that is exactly what they crave. Sense of control over someone else's emotions and actions. Silence disrupts the cycle. How not responding frustrates those who disrespect you. While disrespect is often an attempt to ignite a confrontation, silence has the opposite effect. It halts the conflict in its tracks. By not reacting, you deny the disrespectful person the satisfaction they seek. They expect you to argue, defend yourself, or become visibly upset. When none of these reactions occur, they are left in a state of confusion. Silence interrupts the usual cause and effect dynamic that they're accustomed to. Throws them off balance, making them question their own action. The power of silence lies in its unpredictability. Those who disrespect others rely on the predictable nature of human emotion. They expect their words or actions to elicit a strong, immediate reaction. When you don't give them that, it frustrates them because they lose control of the narrative. Silence creates an uncomfortable space where they are forced to sit with their own behavior, without the distraction of your emotional response to deflect from. Furthermore, silence forces the disrespectful person to reflect on their action. Without a reaction to fuel the fire, they may start to wonder why their attempt to provoke you failed. This introspection can lead them to feel insecure about their actions. making them question whether their approach was wrong or ineffective. In some cases, silence can even cause them to regret their disrespectful behavior, as it forces them to confront the reality of their own action without the emotional validation they expected. In this way, silence disrupts the cycle of conflict and provocation. It removes the disrespectful person's ability to manipulate your emotions, leaving them powerless. While they wanted a reaction to assert control, your silence demonstrates that you are in control of yourself, which is ultimately far more powerful. The psychology behind silence. Silence as a power move. The psychological impact of silence on the aggressor. Silence, often seen as passive, is actually a powerful tool that can shift the dynamic in any conflict or tense interaction. In situations of disrespect, silence can be used as a power move, turning the tables on the aggressor. When someone disrespects you, they expect you to retaliate, explain yourself, or engage in some way that acknowledges their attack. But when you choose silence, it sends a clear message that you are in control of the situation and your emotion. This lack of reaction speaks volume, asserting that the aggressor's words or actions are not worth your time or energy. Psychologically, this puts the aggressor in a vulnerable position. By not responding, you deprive them of the emotional reaction they crave, leaving them to feel powerless. They no longer have control over the narrative or over you. Silence becomes a demonstration of self-assurance and strength. It shows that you are not easily manipulated or rattled by external negativity. This often leads to frustration for the person trying to provoke you, as they realize their attempts to disrupt your peace failed. In a way, silence acts as a mirror to the aggressor, reflecting their own behavior back at them without any emotional interference from you. This imbalance can make the person uncomfortable and unsettled, as they are left to confront their actions without the expected escalation. The psychological impact of silence can be profound, as it shifts the power dynamic, showing that true strength lies in emotional restraint. Forces self-reflection. Silence makes the other person confront their behavior. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to force self-reflection. When you don't respond to disrespect, the aggressor is left with no distractions, no argument to justify their behavior, and no emotional outburst to validate their action. This often leads them to reflect on what they said or did, and sometimes even causes them to question whether their actions were appropriate in the first place. Absence of a response creates an uncomfortable void. Without the distraction of a heated exchange, the aggressor is faced with their own words and action, which may lead to a deeper understanding of the hurt they caused. In some cases, silence acts as a subtle but powerful form of accountability. The aggressor may start to replay the situation in their mind, dissecting it in search of a reason for your silence. This introspection can lead to feelings of guilt or shame, as they begin to realize that their disrespectful behavior wasn't justified. This forced self-reflection can be a turning point for the person who disrespected. They may come to understand the impact of their behavior more clearly than if you had responded with anger or defensiveness. Silence creates a space where they are alone with their thoughts, allowing them to process their actions and, in some cases, feel remorse. It turns the situation from a battle of words into an opportunity for personal growth on their part, whether they realize it or not. Silence builds mystery. Unspoken thoughts can drive them to overthink their actions. Beyond forcing reflection, silence has another psychological effect. It builds mystery. When someone disrespects you and you remain silent, they are left in the dark about your thoughts and emotion. This ambiguity can be incredibly unsettling for the aggressor. Humans naturally seek closure and understanding, especially in social interaction. When you don't respond, it creates a sense of mystery that can be both intriguing and anxiety-inducing. The person who disrespected you may start to overanalyze the situation, wondering what you're thinking, how you feel, and what your next move might be. This lack of clarity can cause them to spiral into overthinking as they try to fill the gap left by your silence. They may wonder if they went too far, whether they hurt you deeply, or if you are planning to retaliate later. The longer the silence continues, the more their mind races with possibilities. In this way, silence becomes a psychological weapon, planting seeds of doubt and uncertainty in the mind of the aggressor. They may start to second-guess their actions, worrying about how they are perceived and whether their disrespect will have long-term consequences. This constant overthinking can lead to stress, anxiety, and even regret as they grapple with the unknown. By remaining silent, you retain control over the situation, while they lose control of their own thought. Ultimately, silence shifts the focus away from you and back onto the person who disrespected you, forces them to deal with the emotional consequences of their actions while you maintain your peace and composure. This psychological impact of silence is profound, as it not only disrupts the aggressor's attempts to provoke you, but also leaves them to confront their own inner turmoil. Emotional control, staying calm under pressure, power of maintaining composure. One of the most important aspects of handling disrespect is the ability to stay calm under pressure. When someone tries to provoke you, they are often seeking an emotional response: anger, frustration, or even fear. Maintaining composure in these moments is not just about controlling your temper. It's about demonstrating inner strength. Staying calm shows that you are unshaken by external negativity, that no matter what is thrown your way, you remain grounded and in control of yourself. When you stay calm in the face of disrespect, it sends a clear message to others that you won't be easily manipulated or pushed into emotional outbursts. This ability to maintain your cool under pressure sets you apart as someone who is emotionally resilient. Calmness diffuses tension and often disarms the person who is trying to provoke you. They expect a reaction: yelling, defending, arguing. But when you respond with calmness or silence, it leaves them unsure of how to proceed. Staying calm is a powerful form of emotional control. It allows you to think clearly, avoid saying things you might regret, and prevent the situation from escalating further. In moments of tension, your calmness can have a ripple effect, influencing others around you to mirror your composure rather than fueling the conflict. Why reacting shows weakness. How emotional reactions give others control over you. While it may seem natural to react when someone disrespects you, giving in to that impulse often puts you at a disadvantage. Emotional reactions, whether they come in the form of anger, frustration, or defensiveness, give the other person a sense of control. They have succeeded in eliciting the response they wanted, and now they can manipulate or escalate the situation further. Reacting emotionally is often a sign that someone has succeeded in disrupting your internal peace. Reacting, especially in anger, can lead to regrettable actions or words. Clouds your judgment. causing you to act impulsively rather than strategically. In moments of heightened emotion, you may say or do things that you wouldn't under normal circumstances, handing power over to the person who disrespected you. They can twist your words, turn your anger against you, or escalate the situation to a point where you lose control entirely. By reacting, you're also showing the aggressor that they have the ability to affect your emotional state. This gives them a sense of dominance, as they've successfully pushed you to a breaking point. It reinforces their belief that they can manipulate you, disrespect. In contrast, not reacting or choosing silence demonstrates that you are beyond their influence. You are not swayed by their negativity, which in turn weakens their control over the situation. How silence projects strength. Silence is a display of self-control and strength. Silence in the face of disrespect is one of the most powerful displays of strength. While many believe that strength is shown through bold actions or assertive words, true power often lies in restraint. Choosing silence over an emotional response shows that you are in full control of yourself and the situation. It is a way of saying, without words, that the disrespect has no real impact on you. Silence demonstrates emotional maturity. It shows that you understand the importance of picking your battles and that you don't feel the need to defend yourself against every slight or insult. This restraint is a sign of self-confidence and security in who you are. You know that your worth is not defined by others' opinions, and you don't need to prove yourself by engaging in petty arguments or reacting to disrespect. Moreover, silence can create an air of authority. When you don't respond, others may interpret your silence as a sign of wisdom or confidence. It creates a space where the aggressor is forced to reflect on their actions while you maintain your dignity. The unspoken message is clear. You are not shaken by their words because you're above their attempts to undermine you. Silence also gives you time to think. While the aggressor is left stewing in their frustration, you have the opportunity to reflect on the situation and decide how best to move forward. This careful consideration allows you to act with intention rather than impulse. In many cases, the strongest response is no response at all. By not reacting, you protect your emotional well-being, keep the upper hand, and demonstrate that true strength lies in maintaining control of yourself, not in being controlled by others. How silence hurts. The disrespectful silence is often perceived as a passive reaction, but in the face of disrespect, can be a powerful tool that inflicts psychological discomfort on the person who wronged you. In many cases, disrespect is a way for someone to assert dominance, provoke a reaction, or undermine your emotional balance. When you respond with silence, you refuse to engage in their game, which in turn makes the person feel powerless and unsure of what will happen next. This uncertainty can be far more unsettling than any verbal retaliation. The uncomfortable aftermath of silence is a form of emotional tension that leaves the person who disrespected you questioning themselves. When you do not immediately respond, the disrespectful person is left wondering what you are thinking. Did you notice the insult? Are you plotting revenge? Will there be consequences? This void of communication is disorienting because people often rely on your reactions to gauge their own emotional standing. Without that feedback, they are left in a state of anxiety, unsure of how to interpret your silence. For individuals who thrive on confrontation or drama, silence is particularly unsettling. They crave a reaction, whether it's anger, frustration, or hurt, because it validates their action. When they disrespect you, they expect you to respond, whether to defend yourself, argue, or even lash out emotionally. By remaining silent, you deprive them of that validation. It's akin to pulling the rug out from under them. They anticipate the spark of conflict, but instead they are met with a void, leaving them to stew in their own discomfort. In this way, silence can act as a subtle form of psychological revenge, forcing them to reflect on their behavior without the satisfaction of your immediate response. More importantly, silence reverses the power dynamic in the situation. The disrespectful person often holds power in the initial moment because they are the ones setting the tone. However, by choosing not to respond, you are shifting the emotional burden back onto them. They are no longer in control of the situation, and instead, they are now the ones dealing with the uncertainty. Silence places them in a vulnerable position, as they are left to speculate about what you're thinking and how you will act in the future. This reversal of power can cause them to feel anxious, as they now have to worry about potential repercussions or whether their behavior will come back to haunt them later. Over time, the use of silence can also serve as a long-term strategy for dealing with disrespect. It creates a boundary that communicates you will not tolerate poor behavior, but you will not stoop to their level either. Instead, you maintain your dignity and poise, which ultimately makes you stronger in the eyes of others. The disrespectful individual may come to realize that they cannot easily manipulate or provoke you, which diminishes their power. In some cases, your silence may even lead them to reflect on their actions and change their behavior. In summary, silence is not just the absence of words. It is an active, intentional choice that can hurt the disrespectful more than any heated argument ever could. It leaves them uncomfortable, powerless, and unsure of their position, while you maintain control of the situation. The emotional burden shifts onto them, reversing the power dynamic and leaving them to face the consequences of their actions alone. The long-term impact of silence after disrespect. Silence can be a powerful tool when used in response to disrespect. Over time, this calculated response often compels change, either by forcing the person who disrespected you to adjust their behavior or by creating natural distance. When words fail to convey your boundaries or feelings effectively, silence speaks volume. By choosing not to engage, you subtly shift the dynamics of the relationship, pushing the other person to either recognize the error of their ways or gradually drift away. In either case, the outcome fosters a healthier environment for both parties, removing unnecessary conflict from your life. One of the most significant benefits of silence is the personal growth that arises from it. By not engaging in negative energy, you give yourself the space to maintain emotional control. This is where growth begins. By mastering the urge to react impulsively, you sharpen your emotional intelligence and resilience. Silence serves as a reminder to yourself that you do not need to match others' negativity. Instead, you cultivate an inner strength that allows you to rise above the situation, reaffirming your self-worth. The discipline required to remain quiet, especially when provoked, promotes mindfulness, emotional balance, and clarity. You learn to observe situations with a calm detachment, understanding that not everything warrants a reaction. This makes you more self-aware and less prone to allowing external forces to control your emotion. Over time, others begin to respect you more for your ability to maintain composure in difficult situations. When you respond to disrespect with silence rather than anger or retaliation, you send a message of self-confidence and strength. People respect those who can rise above petty drama and maintain their dignity. Silence in this context is often viewed as a form of wisdom, where you recognize that not every slight or insult deserves your attention. This elevates your reputation in the eyes of others, who start to perceive you as emotionally mature, posed, and unshakable. Furthermore, your silence becomes a boundary in itself, signaling to others that you will not entertain disrespect and will not lower yourself to a confrontational level. In the long run, this approach builds a reputation of quiet strength. People are naturally drawn to those who seem unbothered by trivial matters, and they respect the emotional stability that comes with it. Silence, after all, can communicate more powerfully than words ever could. It shows that you are secure enough in yourself that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Those who initially disrespected you may even come to realize their mistake, changing their behavior in your presence or fading out of your life completely. Either way, you win. In conclusion, silence after disrespect can be a transformative force. It forces change or distance from the people who don't value your worth, helps you grow personally by refusing to engage in negativity, and earns you the respect of others. By choosing not to respond to disrespect with more negativity, you protect your peace and strengthen your character, making silence one of the most potent tools for long-term personal empowerment. In this video, we've explored how silence can be an incredibly powerful response to disrespect. From its ability to disrupt the aggressor's control, to the way it forces self-reflection and builds a sense of mystery, silence speaks louder than words. It allows you to stay calm under pressure, maintain emotional control, and project strength in the face of provocation. Rather than reacting and giving others control over your emotions, silence gives you the upper hand, showing that you are in control of yourself and the situation. Final thought: how mastering the art of silence can protect your peace and hurt those who seek to harm you. Mastering the art of silence is about more than just refusing to engage. It's about protecting your inner peace. In a world where people often expect and even thrive on conflict, silence sends a clear message. You will not allow others to disrupt your emotional balance. It subtly yet effectively places the emotional burden back on those who sought to harm you, forcing them to confront their actions without the comfort of a reaction. Silence becomes both a shield and a weapon, shielding you from unnecessary drama while unsettling those who tried to provoke you. Call to action: use silence as a tool for self-empowerment. As we conclude, I encourage you to embrace the power of silence in your life. The next time someone disrespects you, instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back. Practice the art of silence. Let your lack of response be a reflection of your strength and self-respect. Use silence as a tool to protect your peace, regain control of your emotions, and ultimately rise above the negativity. Remember, silence isn't weakness. It is a choice, a strategy, and a sign of true self-empowerment.